on. All right, guys, we are live. What's up? This is the only live stream I'm going to be able to do today. Usually by this time on Saturday morning, my time, we've already gone live twice. I'm here with Tommy Razor Randone. You'll know him from Tommy and Paulie's Big Fight Breakdown. You'll know him as a former pro from New Jersey, New York? Well, Brooklyn.
Long Island.
Long Island. Oh, dude, one of my favorite emo punk bands of all time. Is that near like Montauk?
Montauk's out east of me. That's about an hour and a half east of me.
Have you heard of a band? They never were like super mainstream, like late '90s, early 2000s, called Brand New.
Oh, I don't think so.
Okay, they sang. Anyway, guys, that link that's pinned in the comment section right there. Click that link. You join our professional bettors Discord. It's a community. It's not just boxing. It's all pro sports. We have American football, hockey, MMA. We just put tennis in there for the Australian Open. Baseball season's coming up. Click that link to find out more. Tommy and I are going to break down the Zuffa card, which is starting right now. Troy Nash is fighting. And then we're also going to break down, take your questions with the main event tomorrow, the world title fight at 135 between Muratalla and the Diamond, Andy Cruz. Tommy, thanks for doing this with me, buddy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we got Mike Larry with the super chat right off the bat. Appreciate the support. He says Kakachi versus Jazza Dickens, Botel versus Francesca Hennessy, Hutchinson versus Ezra Taylor. My man's going with the super chat away from this weekend to the UK. I'll go real quick. Mike Larry, I think Kakachi super underrated, had a little bit of a renaissance in his career because he gave his belt up, supposed to fight Sugar Nunez. He took the money, fought Lee Wood instead. I highly rate Kakashi. Jazza coming off a victory. He was a plus 500 underdog against Albert Badargaziev in Turkey. Stopped Badargaziev, and like you and I always talk, Tommy, keeps showing us that pattern of these guys being fast-tracked and fighting veterans, and now Jazza gets that fight. I think Jazz has been elevated. He's a world champion. Shout out to him. I'm not going to bet against Fran Hennessy at this stage of her career either. And then I got to do more tape on Hutchinson and Ezra. But how about you, Tommy? You got any say on that? Because I didn't bring Tommy to talk UK, but we're an international show here. I'm living in Sydney. Tommy's in New York, and I can tell Mike Larry's from the UK. We got a pro boxer. So Mike Tyler's a pro boxer. I think he's 11-0, just had his last pro fight. If you're not following Mike Tyler on YouTube and Instagram, follow him, support his journey. We appreciate you, Mike. Tommy, the chat's starting off pretty good. 20 people already in here. When you guys are tapping in, give us a thumbs up. Here we go. Take this one.
All right. What do we got here? I'm on. Keep in mind, I'm on a phone here.
All right, I'll read it. It says, "What's good, Johnny and Tommy? Andy Cruz decision, Zaquin Moses, money line, Callum, money line. Is that a good bet?" I'll bring the odds up real quick, too. We'll have a look at it, too, as we're thinking about it.
We're going to break down a little bit. I'm sure we're going to talk about the Cruz Muratalla fight. That one's tricky, Johnny, because we're both going against what we've discussed privately, right?
On the Cruz Muratalla?
Yeah, Muratalla. We're going against what we discussed privately on these essential rookies.
Yes. Yeah. That pattern of behavior, because Cruz, this is only Cruz's 7th pro fight. And Tommy and I, it's a legit ass pattern of behavior in pro boxing in this era of guys being fast tracked, going against pros with 20 plus fights, going in as the favorite and losing. So statistically speaking, we are against the odds here.
Johnny, you gotta wonder sometimes too, right? The bookies that are making these odds plus 200, right? Plus 200. That's a great value. Did they realize that people like me and you, because let's call it for what it is and let's be honest. We didn't learn from our mistakes in 2025. We kept taking the inexperienced guy, the novice, the guy that doesn't have a lot of pro rounds under his belt, and we kept choosing him, and we didn't learn from the pattern of these guys getting knocked off over and over again because they were being fast-tracked, right? So he's wise to that, where they're saying, you know what, let's keep going in this direction. Let's make Muratalla a plus 200 underdog, and they're going to go for him as well, and Cruz gets knocked off again. I mean, listen, this is not a lock, this fight. After I did my breakdown on my show, I spent a little more time thinking about it yesterday. I'm not changing my pick, Johnny, but I really started to think about the seasoning and how Muratalla has been the 10-round distance several times. He's been 12 rounds as well. And rounds matter. Experience matters. And is Cruz going to be able to hang that second half of the fight? Is he going to slow down? Is he going to tire? Is he going to deplete? Anxiety, the pressure of the situation. He's being in uncharted waters. So the more I thought about it, I said to myself, I'm still going to stick with Cruz, but he's going to have to survive a second half storm here.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of these fights because you and I we put ourselves in this position to turn the camera on and tell people our thoughts on outcomes of boxing matches. This weekend, guys, full transparency, the Zuffa card, especially the Zuffa card for me, and this Cruz Muratalla fight. I'm not sitting here like convinced I have all my bets right, right? Some weekends you go in, you're like, I'm feeling really good, and it comes to fruition. This weekend, like you said, I like Cruz. I'm leaning on the speed. I'm leaning on the reflexes. I'm leaning on sort of like the God gifts and his talents. And I'm expecting Morataya's defense to be leaky enough in positions when he's punching that Cruz is going to be able to take advantage of that. I talked about it to you how like when I'm slowing down tape, Muratalla loves his backhand. You brought up he loves switching stances, and sometimes his defense doesn't always stay technically sound. And with a guy like Cruz who's looking, body punches, countering, sharpness, I'm leaning on that.
I get it, Johnny, but also, the more I thought about it yesterday, and you're going to analyze and overanalyze things.
Yep. Yep.
What about it? I'm saying Mortala, that second half of the fight, he just has so much seasoning experience at this level. All right.
Yep.
Cruz does not. Cruz stay composed? Does he stay relaxed? Does the moment get to him? Does panic set in? We don't know because he hasn't been in this kind of fight yet.
Yeah, and I really like when I look at fighters that I like following their career, I always talk about Moritz. I like how he carries himself. I like how he never smiles. I like how he's always switched on. He's always locked in. He's a champion, and he still has that chip on his shoulder. And Andy Cruz, and those are guys I generally, like to, do tape on and write about and these sort of things. Cruz is a flashy guy. One of our boys in the Discord brought up an angle, and you're the perfect guy to ask considering you were a pro. Do you take much into consideration of the coach versus coach element, considering Moratai is coming from RGBA and Andy Cruz is the Dungeon and Bozy, and then you have that Virgil mirroring Duran potential matchup? Does that bring anything into the ring for Cruz Morataya for you or no?
Naturally, but it all depends on the relationship between a fighter and a coach, right? When you have the kind of relationship that a Teddy Atlas had with Michael Moore or a Manny Pacquiao has with Freddie Roach, I mean, I take stock in that for sure. Just because you got a big name and a good trainer in your corner doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to follow his advice. You're going to trust him completely. When you have a Virgil Hunter and an Andre Ward, I'm worried about that. I'm saying to myself, that's another element to worry about.
Okay. And then I'm gonna say the chat's heating up. Mike Larry, Jay Buckets. All right, he's from the Shy. I always talk about Chicago. 4 months out of the year, Chicago's one of my favorite towns. But when that weather starts turning, boy, get the hell out. Julius. So Tommy, are you aware? I know you aren't. I want to put your. You were out earlier. Are you aware what happened on the scales with Hart and Khalil Ko?
No, was it a little beef?
Oh no, Khalil Ko missed weight by 7 to 8 pounds.
Oh.
Yes. He weighed in at 183 and a half, I think. And the fight's at 174, at least 7 pounds.
That's no good.
So what do you make? The fight's still going on. All the boys are obviously, you know how fucking horrible, part of my French mom, it is to cut weight. Cutting weight is the fight before the fight. What do you make of the, we know on paper lack of professionalism, but we've seen though in the past, Ryan Garcia misses weight. It was only 3 pounds against Devin. He pops. He was dirty. There's countless times where fighters were allowed to fight missing weight and they won. What do you think? Right off jump when I told you that, because this is your first time hearing it, what do you think of that?
Go in either direction, Johnny. It could be an advantage or a great disadvantage.
Because I have Co on a parlay, and now I'm kind of worried.
It's the thing, like when you suffer early in your career, when I was making weight at 26, 27, 28, and I had to kill myself a little bit to make weight, it didn't affect me fight night. But at 36 and 37, when I had to murder myself on the in the sauna and cutting weight beforehand and going 24 hours without eating or drinking anything, and then sweating out in the gym and just to beat the scale, I felt it. Lost me in a fight too. All right, you can get away with that when you're young. Co is young. Okay. Now missing weight. Now, as far as missing weight by that much, I mean, that wouldn't even be in the stratosphere of my thought process that would ever miss that much, right? It could work two directions, right? Sometimes a guy says, you know what, I'm not going to kill myself. Usually it's when the title's on the line. He'll say, you know what, I'm going to vacate the title. I'm going to come in 3-4 pounds overweight. I'm going to get the W, and I'm going to move up in weight, and that's it. In this particular situation, obviously we're not dealing with any kind of title on the line, right? So now it's just about the win and the loss. We know Cole didn't kill himself on the scales, right? So
Tommy, I want to show you something. I'm now going to show you footage of them facing off. Now psychoanalyze the nonverbal communication from both fighters. Give me 1 second. This right here is pretty wild. What? Look at Co. It's a little bit lagging, but what they're doing is they're jumping. He's jumping up as if they just announced he missed weight,
yeah,
and he's kind of he's pretty cavalier about the entire thing.
yeah. I mean, you know what? If he didn't try and make weight, all right, and he didn't deplete himself and kill himself trying to make weight, which he probably didn't. Not when you're coming in 8 pounds over, all right, it could be an advantage for him in this particular situation. If you told me he missed weight by 1.5 pounds or a pound, and I'm looking at a guy that's dried out and looking miserable, I'm gonna say that's probably gonna hurt him on the scale.
I wanted to ask you another thing. I brought this up during my live stream yesterday with Khalil Ko and with Jesse Hart. It's well known that Hart, he's 36, 3 losses, but he's never been stopped. And I brought this up, and you're a perfect guy to ask this to once again. Fighter, didn't retire. Not many fighters retire undefeated, but you had never been stopped. And so I was telling the boys around the water cooler when you're around fighters, that's a point, that's a conversation piece with fighters. Like, this is a tough guy. He's really slick, had a good career, good pro, never been stopped. You're in for it when you fight this guy. Jesse Hart's never been stopped. So when that matchup was made, because a lot of boys are trying to get sexy with their picks, disregard the weight miss. This is kind of like, let's compartmentalize this question by itself. And they're trying to get sexy with, does Co win? Does he stop him? Does he win on points? And I brought that up. I was like, well, you got to understand. Jesse Hart, this dude is going in there knowing that even if he loses, he's not going to want to get stopped by this guy. And so what's your take on that? And is there something to that as well? A fighter with, a true pro who's never been stopped, maybe at the twilight of his career in a big fight.
Johnny, it's a badge of honor. I don't care, who you are. It's a badge of honor. And nobody's unstoppable. You learn that. Bernard Hopkins got stopped in the very last fight of his career. You know what I mean? This guy made it to 50 years old and never got stopped. And then he got flatlined and knocked out of the ring by Joe Smith. And that's a horrible way for him to end. An image we never should have saw, by the way. He just.
I agree.
That being said, I brought this up on my show with Paulie a couple of days ago. I watched the fight with Joe Smith recently when Hart fought Joe Smith. And Joe Smith's a bomber. I mean, he goes out there. Joe Smith's not going to feint. Joe Smith's not going to counterpunch a lot. There's not a giant skill set there. What there is a good jab and monster puncher, right? He telegraphs a lot of his shots. He bombs away. I mean, his nickname is the Bomber for a reason. That being said, Hart realized as early as the second round, like, I ain't winning this fight. This guy is strong as hell. He's young as hell. He's determined. He's not going to stop coming for me. So guess what? I'm not saying that he packed it in, but in round 2, he realized, hey, listen, I ain't going to win this fight. Regardless of what the scorecard said, one of these idiotic judges actually gave Hart the fight. So that was a split decision, or it might have been a majority. I think it was a split. Anybody who watched the fight, it was an 8-2 fight, 9-1 fight. Smith won that fight easily. That being said, Hart was in survival mode from round 2 on. You know what, Johnny? He realized, I'm not going to win this fight, but I'm not going to let this dude stop me. And he grabbed, used his legs, he clinched, he underhooked, he did whatever he had to do to take the momentum from Smith and from the crowd, and he went that 10-round distance. So even at 36 years old, I'm saying to myself, if he can go 10 rounds with Joe Smith, he goes 10 rounds with Cole as well.
Yeah, I was leaning that way as well. And then you mix Khalil Ko, kind of a new pro, didn't grow up boxing, picked the sport up a bit late in terms of boxing, boxing standards. And sometimes in a fight like this, when you're going against a real pro, the one thing a 36-year-old guy knows how to do is survive. He knows, when the fight is trending a certain way. But people are, this weight miss has a lot of people worried about their bets. Did you have Co on any of your parlays?
Yes, but I only bet the distance, Johnny. I did. I'm sorry. Fine. I did use Coe a couple of times on the money line at minus 750, but not big bets. The bigger bets, I bet on the fight going the distance because I do feel like this fight goes the distance. Is there a potential for a hard upset? Absolutely. Maybe more so with this guy missing weight by 8 pounds. He maybe didn't train the way he should have trained. But I still see this fight in a 12-round fight. I'd be a little more concerned. In a 10-round fight, ultimately, I see the fight going the distance. And listen, I was impressed with Coe's rematch. He got stopped. I was at that fight. That was on the Ennis undercard in Philadelphia. I was there live. And listen, he got his ass kicked that night. And he got stopped. I believe it was the 8th or the 9th round. And he was depleting. You could see it coming. You could see this guy was in uncharted territory. He was uncomfortable. The anxiety was kicking in. He was getting tired. So when he fought the rematch, that shows a lot of character to me. He came right back, no tune-up, no nothing. Fought this guy in a rematch and beat the shit out of him, and he stopped this guy. And he really impressive jab. I mean, he was breaking. I'm going blank on the guy's name.
Manny Gallegos.
Gallegos. He was breaking Gallegos' face open with that jab by the second, third round. So he made adjustments. He was laser focused. You could see it. You could see it. He was He wasn't paying attention to the crowd, to the ref, to the court, to nothing but his opponent in front of him. I was very impressed with that performance. That's why him missing weight by 8 pounds today is very surprising to me because I saw a lot of discipline in that rematch. Now, that being said, yeah, I still see this fight going the distance. I did bet him a couple of times on the money line because I think he is a very solid fighter. And I think that obviously at 36 years old and seeing that he went into such survival mode with Smith, which was 2 years ago, it's a hard ask for Hart to win this fight. But I do think that Hart is more than capable of going the distance.
So this is interesting because when you look at the current odds right now, it's cut 50-50. Will the fight go the distance? Yes or no? $1.88 both ways, 88% return. That's a great standalone bet if you're a heavy better, or a great two-leg parlay piece.
On drop.
What was that? You cut out.
Did the money line drop? Because Coe was a minus 750.
Coe currently, yeah, it's about that still. Dollars. Yeah, you put 100 on Coe on the money line, you only get $16 back. So about 84.
But honestly,
So,
listen, I take that into consideration. Every time people think when a guy misses weight that automatically that he killed himself and struggled on the scales and that he's going to be depleted and he's not going to be the best version of himself. In a lot of cases, that is true. But in a case where a guy misses weight by this much, I actually think it's an advantage. I think it's an especially.
what do you King of Fitness just commented back to one of our first points about Andy Cruz and Muratalla, about how Muratalla didn't really have an amateur career, and it's kind of like flip-flopped. Cruz had the long amateur career, new pro. Muratalla didn't really have an amateur career, bigger pro. Does that matter? Does that make any relevance for you?
A good point, but listen, there's such a difference between the amateurs and the pros. I'll give you an example. And I've discussed this over the years. In the amateur days, I didn't take it seriously. I was out partying left and right, and I'd go to the gym and train, but I didn't jump rope, I didn't run, I didn't train properly. All right, I went out there, I partied all night, and then I fought Luis Collazo the next day. It meant nothing to me. I didn't care. I didn't even know who Collazo was when we touched gloves and the bell rang. And we came out, and he kicked the living shit out of me, Johnny. I thought I was getting jumped by the end of the first round. All right. I still went the distance. Why? Because it's a 3-round sprint, a 4-round sprint in the amateurs. All right. Those fights are, to me, even looking back at it now, I'll say this, and it sounds arrogant, but those fights were easy. The amateurs are easy. The amateurs and the pros are two different games.
Yeah.
I get to the second round of a fight in the amateurs, I'm already halfway home, right? Mentally, it doesn't deplete you as much. Mentally, it doesn't take as much of a
It's a crazy story, mate, going into a fight and going out. I get, dude, but people have to understand, a guy who chooses the life of a boxer is a savage. You know what I mean?
But there is a very big difference between amateur boxing. To me, again,
what were the differences turning pro then? Did you cut all that shit out, or were you still kind of as a pro?
Now I'm fighting out there half naked with small gloves on, no headgear. These punches count. These are real horsehair gloves. I mean, whole different ball game. It's a lot more like a street fight, a street fight with skill. Where an amateur to me was just like an amateur to me was just like kid stuff. It really was like kid stuff. I think going 3 rounds, going 4 rounds was no big deal to me. It didn't matter who was in front of me. Whether I'm going to win or whether I'm going to lose, you're not going to stop me. That's not going to happen in a 3 or 4 round amateur fight, whether I'm in shape or whether I'm not. In the pros, different ball game. Different ball game with the 3-minute rounds, 6 rounds, 8 rounds, 10 rounds. You got to be in shape, and those punches hurt, and those punches count.
So how many amateur fights did you have?
Somewhere around like 35.
And you had about 30 plus pro fights, right?
Pro and around 35 amateur.
Never been stopped.
No.
There you go. That's I mean that matters. So I'm glad that we talked about that because it was a point of conversation on the live stream that I brought up about Jesse Hart does not, if he's taking this fight, you're going to have to do everything in your power to stop this guy at this stage of his career. Because that's the one thing he has going into retirement. You know what I mean? The boys, people will buy you beers wherever you go. Just people have to understand boxing is a close-knit fraternity. And so, it's good to hear that side of things. Are you excited about any fights on the Zuffa card?
Am I personally?
On the Zuffa card, are you stoked about it or no?
I wouldn't say stoked about it. I'm stoked about Cruz Muratalla tomorrow. I think that's a fantastic matchup.
Yeah.
I say stoked, but I think it's a very solid card, Johnny. At first, as a boxing purist, and I wouldn't say a Dana White hater, but I don't like the way that he treats fighters. Obviously, notoriously underpaid, and I was not so crazy about his foray into boxing in the beginning, especially since I feel that he's used boxing as a platform to promote UFC by bad-mouthing boxing all these years. Very rarely does he speak positively about boxing. That being said, I'm starting to get excited about this card and this whole venture because I'm saying to myself, he's got real boxing commentators. I thought maybe he's going to bring in some UFC guys to commentate. And I love Joe Rogan as a commentator. I think he's a fantastic commentator. I like his podcast. I think he's a very intelligent guy, and he knows about boxing too. Joe Rogan is no slouch when it comes to boxing. But I was concerned that he was going to bring in UFC guys. He's got Antonio Tarver. He's got Andre Ward, who I think is fantastic. He's got Max. I mean, they got a good line of people behind the scenes, and then. Listen, he put together some very good fights. They already got another show for February 1st. They got 2 more on the books. They got 4 shows coming up over the next 5 weeks. So, you know what? I'm starting to get a little bit excited about Zuffa boxing. I think that this could be a good shot in the arm for boxing. Competition, as we've discussed, is always healthy.
Yeah, I want to ask the chat real quick. Is anybody? So I'm watching a fight right here. We got Troy Nash, who is a great amateur, has a lot of flash behind him. Was a 10-1 favorite. I don't have the volume on, and I'm kind of like not 10% paying attention. Anybody scoring this Troy Nash fight? Because it looks pretty close. He was a huge favorite. Did you tape any of the fights? Did you tape Cain Sandoval versus J-Rod? Did you tape Callum Walsh versus Ocampo? Any thoughts on any of those fights?
I did Callum Walsh versus Ocampo. I think that's an interesting fight. I got Walsh. I actually think he's going to have to win a decision here, but I could be wrong. I got him on the money line. I also got him by decision. Listen, Ocampo's not a bad fighter. And, of course, glaring is that he got taken out in 1 round viciously by Tim Tszyu. And then, obviously, that he got taken out with a body shot in the very first round again by Errol Spence. So you say to yourself, this guy stepped up twice and he got smoked out like that in the first round. But let's not ignore that he went 12 rounds with Mondoro, who's a windmill, all right?
Yeah.
Now, the thing with Walsh is I think Walsh is a very good, solid fighter. I don't think he punches or he's anywhere near the prospect on this particular day tonight while they're fighting that Tszyu was when they fought or that Errol was when they fought. So
that's a good point. Yeah, so I've been documenting and interviewing UFC fighters just as long as I have been boxing. I just stopped promoting the UFC about maybe 4 years ago to focus all on boxing on social media. And I say that to say this. I watch every UFC fight. I'm an OG fan since 1993, UFC 1 Hoist Gracie days. And having the UFC Fight Pass, they have been force-feeding me Callum Walsh for the last 3-4 years. So I've seen all of his fights, Hollywood fights, trained a wild card with Freddie. Freddie's not in his corner anymore, by the way, just to let everybody know. I have not been impressed with Callum Walsh. And in my opinion, tinfoil hat on, I feel the initial move was taking him out of Ireland. Dana was looking for Conor McGregor. Dana was looking to kind of double tap that Irish pipeline. And, he seems like a good guy. Like, skills-wise, though, my benefit of this fight, if he washes Ocampo, at least for us fans, there's no more step backs. We will now see at a higher level, is this kid the real deal? And I think that's why I'm going to watch. Well, I'm going to be at a jazz festival. That's why people should watch to see, because even if he does wash him, there's no more step. You got to give him Charles Conwell. See how he does with a guy like that, or Chino Rodriguez, or something like that. But we'll see. I'm just there's something about his skill set and his just how he operates in there. I don't know. I'm not sold on him.
You know what? Also, Johnny, a point that I brought this up on one of our shows a while back, and it might have been covering a Walsh fight that was coming up. Most likely was. It traditionally throughout boxing history, and certainly through the last couple of decades, Irish fighters only make it to a certain level. Irish fighters don't make it to world championship status. All right. There was a little wave of New York fighters that came through during when I first turned pro. We had John Duddy, who's a friend of mine and was an absolute warrior.
Good pro.
We had Jamie Moore. We had Andy Lee, of course, who did win a world title. But we had a flood of Irish fighters coming through, and is if they could only make it to a certain level. They got the fan base, so they were selling well in New York, and they were exciting, and they were.
Stevie Collins was a stud though.
Yeah, but we're talking. Stevie Collins was 3 decades ago.
Yeah, a little bit older. I love that era though. I love that era of boxing.
Beast, but we don't get a lot of Irish world champions. We really don't. Certainly, they usually make it to a certain level, and then they come up short. And I'm not Colin Walsh yet. Just like you, Johnny, I've been watching UFC Fight Pass, and his last fight was on a big platform. His last fight was the Netflix fight against Vargas. And listen, kudos to both of them for stepping up and taking that fight. I'm sure they both got paid well. And Walsh did win that fight, but did he look spectacular? Did he put an exclamation point on the victory? No.
So we got a question from one of our JSB insiders, Julius. He says, ask Tommy, is he concerned with the judging in Zuffa? For example, will Zuffa have its own referees?
You know what? The commission is the commission. So as far as the judges go, I mean, it's the same judges you're going to get if this fight was at the MGM Grand on pay-per-view. So I don't think that'll be an issue. I mean, the athletic commission, the Las Vegas Athletic Commission is going to be the Las Vegas Athletic Commission. So you're going to get the same kind of decisions if this fight was on a Zuffa card at the Apex that you're going to get at the MGM Grand.
Yeah, because each state has its own commission. It's the promoters and promotions that are replaceable. So John Cunningham 9659, just to let you know, he's asking, is the Deondays fight being streamed in Australia? It is. I had to sign up for Paramount Plus right now in Australia, $7.99 a month. I watch boxing. It's worth it. Julius says that Kakachi and Frampton both Irish champs. You have your outliers. He didn't say there weren't any.
No. I'm just saying from an overall perspective, because listen, I mean, they have a boxing culture in Ireland, and a lot. Yeah, Frampton.
The Fighting Irish. I mean, we have a university in America called the Fighting Irish.
I was there when Frampton won the world title at the Barclays Center. That was one of the best live fights I've ever seen in my life. That fight was insane, and there were plenty of Irish in the house.
Frampton beat up my coach. So the last time my last boxing coach was 2016, and he was an Australian Olympian. Shout out to my boy Luke Jackson, Action Jackson. Came from the smallest little area of Australia called Tasmania, made it all the way to Belfast, and fought for a world title against fucking Frampton. And Luke, I don't know if you watched the fight. Luke was outskilled, outmatched, but fought so brave. And Frampton broke both eardrums. He had a butt. Yeah, the crowd was insane. He had to go to. Who did Frampton fight in New York?
Who did win the title off? Oh my goodness, I'm going blank right now.
I'm not going to sit here and pretend I was the biggest Frampton fan. When Julius brought him up, I remembered he beat up my coach, and it was a bad week of boxing afterwards.
No, he didn't fight Mikey Garcia, did he?
I can just pull it up. What do you think about the J-Rod Sugarcane Sandoval fight?
I'm leaning towards Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Not impressed with this kid. He's 17-0 with 15 knockouts. I think he gets hit with way too many right hands. I think his defense is very leaky. And I discussed this on my show. I mean, like, he's going up from 140 to 147. He's already soft around the midsection. His body doesn't look like it did a couple of years ago, where he was a more leaner fighter. Now he's chubby. His balance doesn't seem the same. His coordination doesn't seem the same. He's squaring up a lot. Unless he got himself in the kind of shape that he was in 2-3 years ago that I was seeing some of his fights. I mean, he looks borderline slow, and Rodriguez is hungry. Rodriguez is running the brink. This could actually push him into a world title shot.
Yeah, J-Rod, people forget this guy he's a lifelong pro. He was like ranked when he was like 9, 10, 11 years old. We know he had injuries. We know Top Rank kind of shelved him. We know about COVID. He's still only 31 years old, and we know about coming off that Avius Griffin win. So I took him at plus 550. It's now. I got him a plus 550 on Monday.
On the money line,
On the money line on Monday. I sent it to you.
I got to move to Australia. I got him at
This
plus.
was Well, this was 5 days ago. 5 days ago, he was plus 550. He's now almost at like a plus 110. The
Yeah.
odds, the odds came in on J Rod.
Wow. Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw, and he was about a minus plus 145 this morning. So I was saying to myself, I'm glad I got it in at plus 200. But you got him at plus 500. That's insane.
Yeah, and so that alone, I thought it was a value play. And then I told the boys in the Discord, I put it up for my Patreon boys, and I said, if this pick loses, it's my fault. But I said, if this pick wins, don't give me the credit, give Tommy the credit because the Deonda fight, the Deonda fight versus El Chino, plus 550 again, and I was like, boys, oh, Troy Nash with the knockdown, they're calling it a slip in the 5th round. I think this, and so what I was saying is, um, people want to find value. Anybody could sit here in a studio and a couch and say that, hey, I'll give you 3 winners and they're all 8-1 favorites, and then after they all 3 hit, you put 100 to win $40, and you're the best in the world. We like a little bit of sprinkling. I want to find some sharp. I want to find some dog. Deonda, what, 17-0, 22 years old, getting better with each fight. You told me about the Scott Sigmund connection, and I don't like the inactivity of El Chino Rodriguez either. Plus 550. What are we doing? Let's go sprinkle.
Yeah, Deonda.
Guys, Tommy's connection went out. If you guys still see me, like this video wherever you are, hit subscribe. Did your phone die?
No, I had to send somebody to voicemail.
Okay, good. So we were talking about the Deonda fight right when you cut out.
Sorry. Yeah, Deonda is going. Listen, I mean, could he pull off the upset? Absolutely. But I'm heavier on the fight going the distance, and sometimes that's where the value is, right? You're
Yeah.
not gonna bet a minus 600. And you know what? Betting on him at plus 450, plus 500, he has a long shot. And absolutely, I mean, it's worth just even if you throw $10 on it to win 50. Who cares about losing $10 or $15, right? But I think the value fight going the distance at minus 250 is a 10-round fight. I don't think either one of these guys are going to hurt each other. I think they're both the same. They're going to respond to everything. You're not going to see one guy giving the other guy a beat, and that's not going to happen. So I think it's going to be competitive throughout. So I ultimately see this fight going the distance. And at minus 250, I love that value. At minus 250, you parlay that with a couple of reliable legs, and you're right at even odds.
Yeah, so this is something I'm my focus for 2026. I told all the boys on my channel is that I want to like taking more risks, finding in the fights. You know, you're not going to hit every fight. You know what? 2, maybe 3 out of every 10 plus 550s will hit. I don't know the stats on it, but everybody's a different style of better. If you have a massive bankroll and you're betting, $20,000 on a ticket, don't do that bet. But some of us are entertainment better. Some of us love the sport of boxing and like underdog stories. I think Deonda's live, and that was thanks to you. But I told everybody, if you listen and you tell me, and I lose, it's my fault. But if we win, don't give me the flowers. That's Tommy right there.
Oh, Johnny, I'm also very big on fight distance and not going the distance. That's something I break
Yeah,
down.
that's your thing. That's kind of your thing, the fight to go the distance and not go the distance. Are you doing that as standalone normally, or are you using that as a parlay piece?
I'm using it as a parlay piece, and I do separate parlays. So I'll do 5, 6, 10 different parlays. Johnny, if
Jesus.
you looked at the apps on my phone, I got 5 different apps. Right through my phone.
Really? Then what if one fight is on so you don't have a rule that you won't put a repetitive fight on more than one parlay?
Oh
Or
no,
do you
I'm talking about no, Johnny. If I hand you my phone, you're like, let me take Tommy. You got 174 open parlays right now. Now they might all be for like $5 to $8 or $10, but that shit adds up when you win. It adds up.
That's interesting.
So I might do a bunch of different parlays where I got Deontay for the upset, and then I just got the fight going the distance, just going the distance, just distance. And I might Rodriguez a couple of times for the upset. Yeah, I like the crisscross mix and match. And what I am heavy on, like let's say Zayas next week, I'm going to use that a lot. I'm going to use a lot.
So we got a question from Julius. Good question. We run there's a lot of boxing heads. It was my whole goal doing this a couple years ago was creating a community where it's people who love boxing. first and foremost. He wants to ask you, USA Prospect of the Year 2025. His was Joel Ariate. How about yourself? Any prospects that you really sort of favor from last year going into this year that you feel like could take a step up?
No, it's an interesting. What's the difference between a prospect and a contender? It's a thin line, right?
Yeah, it's a chat I always have with the boys. I think the difference between a prospect and a contender is, without saying the obvious of competition, have you fought guys who fought for world titles? Have you fought guys who, whether won or lost title eliminators? I think prospects, under a certain amount of fights, like, for instance, one of my favorite prospects, we just saw him fight last weekend, fights out of California, Palm Springs, 19-year-old kid. His name's slipping out. Caden Griffiths. Caden Griffiths, 19 years old. I would call him a prospect. Joshua, the heavyweight, the American heavyweight who fought the Olympic, Joshua Edwards. I think he turned pro last October. I think he might be 5-0. I consider him a prospect. When I think contenders, I'm thinking guys who are like, no matter the division, are have gone through a phase traditionally. How about you? How about educate us real quick on your theory?
Yes, obviously, Keyshawn Davis would not be considered a prospect anymore. He would be considered a contender. So I'd be looking at somebody a little lower on the totem pole than a Keyshawn Davis, maybe. And a lot of these top ranked guys, I was going to say Polanco. Polanco was a prospect. Now I think Polanco is a contender. So my mind gravitates towards some of the guys that I've been watching off top rank, from top rank coming up. Now, is Emiliano Vargas a prospect or is he a contender? I don't think he's a contender yet. He's a borderline guy.
Yeah, that's a good call. Yeah.
Borderline guy. I was high on Emiliano. I did not like at all how he looked in his last fight. And now they're stepping him up in his next fight. He's fighting for DAZN. So I guess he's no longer with Top Rank because he's fighting for Eddie Hearn in his next fight, which is next month. He's fighting for NABF title. They got him in with the 22-2. And I was high on Emiliano. I think he's the best of the three Vargas brothers. That being said, I was really turned off by his last performance. The guy didn't throw a jab for 10 rounds. And that was alarming to me.
And what does that tell you? What does that say when you see a guy that is so young, so talented, comes from a pedigree, and there's a lull in his sort of leveling up? What is that? Is that a preparation thing? Is that a psychological thing? What is that?
I mean, it could be a trainer thing. Let me ask you this: when you think of Fernando Vargas, do you think
I think you went quiet there?
you think of Fernando Vargas Senior? Do you think of the jab?
Yeah, no, I see what you. Wow, so you're thinking a technique as a jab could be genetics,
I think that
or
showing the right things in the gym. Just because your father is a legend and a former world champion and a gold medalist, and we could talk about how special of a fight. This guy was world champion at 17 years old. I mean, I'm sorry, he was an Olympian at 17. He was a world champion at 20 years old. Fernando Vargas was phenomenal, but Fernando Vargas never used the jab either. He would have had a longer and a better career and an easier career had he used the jab. So,
what is like growing up in gyms? Because like I came like Southside boxing. If you know Jack Lowe, old school coach, mate. Like we literally would keep our hand out here with a tennis ball here and walking around the gym. Like what? When I watch a guy like the kid we just saw, world champ Christian Mabili, like not throwing jabs. Is that a specific style? Were you ever coached by a coach that you left the gym thinking like, what is? Or were you with the same guy your entire career? Because when I hear things like that from you about Emilio not throwing the jab, it's like, what could you? Is that a specific style that some guys just think they don't need it?
imagine fighting without a jab, and I didn't have a good.
I know.
I didn't have a good jab. I was a southpaw. Most southpaws, traditionally, with the exception of the obviously
You got that hook, that slip hook, boy.
like a wink right out there, you're going to think of a great southpaw jab. But I mean, even somebody as athletic and explosive and as good as Zab Judah was, who was a legend, Zab wasn't particularly known for his jab. Manny Pacquiao is not known for his jab. Lomachenko is not known for his jab. They're known more for their athleticism, their slickness, their diversity. And for me, I didn't have a great jab, but if you told me I had to go out there and I couldn't use my jab, I wouldn't know what I would do. My jab was a rangefinder. My jab set up my combinations. My jab set up everything for me. And you know what? I might throw a jab 30 times around and might only land 2 or 3 times, but I needed to keep pumping it out there.
Yeah, one of my favorite things in fight, like when we were breaking down the Kambosos versus Hitchens fight, I was telling everybody Hitchens is going to stop him based off of he's going to put things together with his jab. I love Hitchens' jab, and I felt like going into that fight, people weren't talking about it.
Got a guy from my gym. He's 5'6" 0. Kid Pete, real good fighter, and he was actually sparring with Jesus. You just said
Africa, Hitchens.
sparring him in Jersey, getting ready for this fight, and I said, "What do you think with the Kambosos fight?" I'm like, "Because he doesn't have a lot of power." He's like, "He doesn't have a lot of power. His jab and his right hand, you can't tell the difference." He's like, "But that jab, he's just like, you can't
Beautiful.
get out of the
Nobody talked, bro. It's gorgeous. I tell all my boys here, they know about it because I always talk. But mate, you want to know how to throw a jab? Watch Richardson Hitchens, boy. It's like a button. It's
yeah."
like it is. You could tell hours and hours and years and years. And I like cheering for fighters like that because what does that tell you? Disciplined, drilling. Because
Um,
it doesn't come natural.
you know what that also tells me, Johnny? That he's capable of a lot more because everything.
Bro, this is why we took him at plus 550 by knockout. And because I was like, when you see this kid, he just needs to go viral. He hasn't had his viral moment yet. So without that, there's confidence that is lacking to allow him to let these things come out. And I was like, George is a perfect guy for that to happen. And I expect big things of Richardson now. And there's a few guys right now boxing that I feel we're waiting for them to they have all these skills, right? Uh, you know, it could go against them. Muratalla could be one of these guys, but there's somebody else fighting in the next few weeks that I feel I put right next in that same category. Like guys who are at that world level and they're winning, but they just haven't let it all. They haven't let it all. My dad used to say, Johnny, let it all hang out. They haven't let it all hang out yet.
Yeah. The landscape, the overall landscape in the whole sport right now. I mean, you got a lot. The top 10 is always interchangeable now that Crawford, of course, retired, right? So now it's either Inoue or Usyk. Take your pick, right? But those are your top two in the world. But even if you go down the ladder, even if you have Bam at number 5, right? I mean, Bam is so technically sound, such a
Does everything.
ball fighter, right? So you look at anybody in the top 10.
Ballsy too.
Now put
Ballsy.
now look at Shakur Stevenson. He's at 7 or 8, right? He beat Lopez. He's gonna maybe shoot up to that top 5 position. I think that we have some phenomenal fighters right now. You look no further than the top 10 list because there are guys out there that are one of the best fighters in the world. They're not even anywhere near that top 10 list,
How
right?
do you rate? How do you we never? How do you rate Gary Antoine Russell
Uh you know what? It's tough to get that loss out of my mind, honestly. But
against Puello? Dude, I had him up 4-1 in the first 5 rounds against Puello, and it felt
fell apart that second half of the
he
fight.
fell apart. But how about the performance against Rayo?
Oh, he looked
Those adjustments, belt to ass. It was like a clean sweep.
fantastic. He looked fantastic. Sometimes, listen, people write you off after a loss. Sometimes the best thing that can happen to you is a loss.
He's one of my favorite fighters because of his technique. I like technical guys, dude. And the way he cooked Rayo, man, and we're about to see Rayo in 2 weeks. Shout out to Zuffa.
Very big puncher, but you know what? He showed discipline and composure and relaxation in his last fight. But he also comes from a great pedigree over there. I mean, all those brothers fight.
So we got a question from Jay. He says, "Does Tommy see any upsets on the New York card next week?" Ooh,
Yeah,
I'll bring it up. I'll bring it up so we can look at the odds.
great question. I mean, listen, I mean, I got to stick to my guns with Shakur Stevenson. I said years ago, this is the closest thing I've seen to Floyd Mayweather since Floyd Mayweather. I think he is that special. I said that we're not going to see Shakur Stevenson lose for another 10 years, and it's going to be at 147 or 154 pounds. That's how good I think Shakur Stevenson is. Is Lopez live? No question about it. No question.
Yeah,
Because some of the things about Stevenson that I don't like, the difference between him and Mayweather is Mayweather would stay in the pocket more. I don't like how Stevenson steps out of range, and he's out of range. He's out of position to punch and counter. So
yeah.
sometimes he just disengages, Johnny. I don't like that. I don't like
Mm,
full step back when he can take a half a step back and counter you.
mm.
Now, if Lopez is keen to that, is wise to that, he's going to keep a lot of the action in the center of the ring. Why? Because if you pin Shakur on the ropes, as Zapita did, he's going to respond. He's going to clean you up with counter shots. I mean, that's going to happen. I think that Lopez has to hustle him mentally, almost as if make it look like he's doing more and that he doesn't want to fight, that he's disengaging in the middle of the ring over and over. I'm coming for him and he's stepping out of range. I'm coming for him and he's stepping out of range. And then stab him with a jab to the body and then just outwork him just a little bit. I think putting him on the ropes, you don't want to wake up the lion. That being said, Lopez is live. I still stick with Stevenson. But listen, Ortiz, this is no walk in the park for Keyshawn Davis either. Why? Because he's coming off a year of inactivity. Davis has been in there and competed on a world-class level with both Lomachenko and with Lopez already, right? He's confident up short a third time. And listen, Keyshawn has to get his act together. I mean, I like Keyshawn Davis, but there's been a lot of foul ups from getting popping hot for weed and getting a win changed to a no contest, to all the drama of his last fight where between his brother getting upset and him and his brothers attacking this guy after the fight, after he misses weight and doesn't fight at all. And then there's rumors about, or not even rumors, because he confirmed it, that he's out there. He was depressed and he was drinking a lot and he's messing around. So I mean, these things do have to be factored in. Ortiz is coming motivated, and Ortiz has never been stopped. He's never been dropped. Ortiz is could be a bit.
Dude, Jermaine Ortiz is a dog, dude. They call him technician for a reason. Doesn't have the greatest power, but he's another one of these guys that I kind of like. I put in the category of a Raymond Muratalla. Mean, always switched on. They feel like they've been looked past. They have a chip on their shoulder. Keyshawn's never fought at 140. Keyshawn has a new camp, kind of. He left Bomac and he's going back to his father and the boys in Norfolk, Virginia. And so those are some unknowns. Keyshawn hasn't fought in a year, like you said. Keyshawn's in a newer division. He has it back to a team switch. There's all these questions for a 26-year-old kid who confessed that he was psychologically going through some things. You're telling me this kid's not getting into the ring with some questions that he's asking himself? And if he gives away a couple of these early rounds and it's the third round, fourth round, he's down 2-0, 3-0, that these questions aren't going to come up? I think these are valid questions. I personally am a big fan of, though, when the bell rings inside the ropes, what Keyshawn does, how he operates. And, I think it's closer than people think, though.
Is Johnny, but I also say this, Keyshawn, I think that he's so talented that if he's dialed in, I think mentally focused and physically in shape, Keyshawn, who knows how far this guy can go. I mean, I was almost fight. I was worried about that. Ramos gave Hitchens, arguably beat him. I mean, he gave him all he can handle. And I was worried about Keyshawn going into that fight. He absolutely blitzes this guy in 2 rounds. So Keyshawn is no joke. Also, on that card, to answer the question that was just asked a moment ago, Carrington's not an easy either.
Shoo. Yeah. What's your take on Bruce?
I think he's good. I think he's going to have to win. But he's not stopping this guy, in my opinion. He's in there.
I like him on points.
Yeah, I like him on points. I actually got to check today, Johnny, because I didn't look at my apps today, but I've been waiting for that prop bet to come out as far as what the odds would be for the decision for Carrington. Because I like him on the decision. He's too far on the money line. I've been using him on the money line, but listen, this guy's got 3 losses, 2 of which are majority in split decisions. He gave Fulton all he could handle. He had Fulton on the canvas. If he got the decision over Fulton, I wouldn't have an argument there. He's been stopped that one single time. Carrington is not the biggest puncher in the world, and this guy's going to be dangerous as well.
Can I just say something that often gets overlooked because we live in a sort of like spaceship flying around, and sometimes it's hard for us to sit with what's happening? And people are like, boxing's not any. It was like, what are you talking about? Listen to who we're talking about, who are all fighting. Just tomorrow, Cruz versus Muratalla. Shakur is actually fighting Teofimo Lopez. Jermaine Ortiz is actually fighting Keyshawn Davis. We're in a great spot, man. It's hands down the greatest sport on earth. And if people tell you otherwise, they just don't know, man. How old were you when you first walked into a boxing gym?
I was 17, John. If it was up to me, I would have been there when I was 8 years old.
You were 17. Damn, so you must have just walked in at 17 and got the bug right away.
Dude, I saw Rocky as a kid. I wanted to go to a boxing. Really, there's no internet when I'm a kid in the 80s,
We're the same age, right?
Well, I'm 40. I just turned 46 last week.
Oh, you're a couple years.
I wanted to start a boxing as soon as 6, 7, 8 years old, right?
Yeah.
The phase that would go away. Nobody's gonna push their son into boxing, right? I was into baseball. They wanted me to go in that direction, and then it never went away. But I mean, there's no internet. Yeah, I got the big yellow pages, right? I'm looking up boxing gym like a retarded fucking 8-year-old. It wasn't until that I was 17 years old. I was in high school and a friend of mine mentioned a gym in Westbury. Matter of fact, and that was a double down because I had read an article in my local paper, the Newsday, about this fighter, Willie Wise. Willie Wise was a fighter that was getting ready for a training camp with Pernell Whitaker, and that his son had epilepsy. He had seizures that would just pop up at any time. So I read this 2-page article about Willie Wise and how he had to pull out of this training camp with Pernell Whitaker, and he's constantly, under the gun with his son and medical expenses, this, that, and the next. And he trains at a gym on Post Avenue in Westbury. And I was at that gym literally like 2 days later. And I see Willie come walking into the gym, and I'm like, holy shit. First time I ever saw a professional fighter in my life up close, right? And I watched him hit the pads. It was like fireworks going off. And Willie was a very good fighter. He actually pulled off Ring Magazine Upset of the Year over Julio Cesar Chavez in 1999. He beat Digon Tabella. He should have beat Darrell Coley, but they robbed him on a split decision. Willie was a very good fighter who did not like to train. But that was my entry into boxing, was actually just 17 years old, finally finding out where there's a boxing gym and being able to get a ride over there. But again, Johnny, I wish I started at 7, 8, 9 years old, because by the time I was 17, I already had all these afflictions. I was already experimenting with drugs. I was already, drinking on a pretty regular basis, smoking cigarettes. So then I would just go to the gym and I'd go spar 8, 9, 10 rounds. And I loved fighting. And then I would leave the gym and go right back out to partying.
Yeah. See, it works both ways though, because my dad took me to I was 7. So I was a small little runt, 7-year-old, 3 sisters, my mom and dad, Youngstown, Ohio, old steel town. And by the time I was 14, my parents were like, "You're not boxing anymore." It was at that age where like I was playing baseball, football, basketball. I was good at all those sports. Boxing was like something that was a discipline for me. But by 14, I hadn't gone through puberty yet. I was a runt, and I'm sparring and fighting guys. I remember I was fighting this kid, Alvin Jennings, big arms, armpit hair. I didn't even have pubes yet at 14. I was a little boy, and I got the shit beat out of me. And my parents were like, "Dude, what are you doing?" And so I didn't hit a heavy bag from the time I was 14 until I was 30. So it was like this divorce, this like heartbreak divorce for me. And then when I refound it, I was like, here we are, 14 years later.
You understand who Ray Mancini was when you first started
I
boxing?
I saw Ray. I knew Ray. I know Ray. Ray is right now with Paulie. I talked to Paulie because he was supposed to be on this live, and Ray flew him out to Youngstown. Kelly's there. Kelly and I were there in that gym together. We were baseball. I know him from the baseball field. And Ray was. My dad took me to watch Ray. We had a minor league baseball stadium called Pemberton Park on the south side, and he was fighting at a. I must have been like 6 years old. I think it was 88. We could go to the box rec. This would have been 1988, 1987. And so that's when I knew about Ray as a 5-year-old.
Yes, not in reality, not in shouldn't have been on paper, but Ray's last. I mean, listen, after he lost to Camacho,
The Bramble fights.
he never won another fight. He lost to Tito Bramble.
Bro, I still think he won that Bramble fight.
First or the second? The second. I'm sorry.
The second one.
Right.
What was that?
First one he got stopped. The second one was
Yeah.
Oh, listen, I thought he beat Camacho.
Dude, what a fighter. People don't know. All of his fights are on YouTube. At 21 years old, he fought Alexis Arguello. What are we talking about? Ray Mancini was a motherfucker.
20. And check this out, Johnny, what people don't, the difference between 12-round fight, there's your shirt, just your 12-round fight to 15-round fight, right? That's a 12-round fight. He beats Alexis Arguello. He was ahead on the scorecards.
Alexis Arguello is one of my favorite pros. Yeah. Dude, world-class, Hall of Famer. And then, yeah, boxing, everyone has their own story. I'm always interested to ask people theirs. How hard was it? So I do want to. What was it? It's all good. We could talk, dude. Me and you chat all the time, every day anyway, via messaging. But I want to let everybody know there is a fight going on right now. Merriweather, he's already dropped his opponent. This is the second fight. If you're in Australia watching this, you have to go to Paramount Plus. It's a subscription. The second fight of the Zuffa card is on, and Merriweather's handling it. He was a 9-1 favorite. Did we talk about Zayas? What's your take on Xander versus Barao?
I've been high on Zayas. Listen, I like Zayas. I like him. Now he's in a stacked division at 154.
Yeah.
He might not even be a top 3 in that division. There might be 3 guys that beat him, no problem, including starting with Fundora. That being said, I have liked Zayas since day one. I used to see him fight on the top rank undercards when they were moving Berlanga, and I was saying they're moving the wrong Puerto Rican fighter.
When he had the cornrows, when he looked like a little 12-year-old boy with the corn. I remember.
I was telling anybody that would listen to me, especially my Puerto Rican boxing people in the boxing community, but they're moving the wrong Puerto Rican fighter. Okay, this kid, not only can he fight his balls off, he's good looking, he speaks articulate, but Langa's a douchebag. Period.
I'm still getting cooked. I'm still getting cooked 9 months later for taking Berlanga to beat Shiraz.
Johnny, I'll show you the receipts, Johnny. I made money on that fight. I knew he was getting beat.
Dude, it was my dad always said, Johnny, never bet with your wallet, bet with your heart. or never bet with your heart, bet with your wallet. And I didn't listen to him. And I was beefing with Turkey Al-Sheikh at the time. And I was like, fuck Turkey. Come on, Berlanga. And but yeah.
So I like Zayas from second one. When I saw him fighting on these Belenga undercards, I'm like, listen, this kid is good, man. He's polished already. He's young. He's only going to improve. He's aggressive. He's got a good jab. I liked everything about him. I believe he was still fighting at 147 at the time. But I felt that Top Rank was moving the wrong Puerto Rican fighter. And eventually they caught on to it that they were moving the wrong Puerto Rican fighter too, because Top Rank got rid of Belenga while he was still undefeated. They're like, hey, you know what? This guy's not world championship material, but this guy is. And Zayas went on to win a world title, and now I think he's in with the right guy, coming off his last fight where he was in with an aggressive guy that had never been stopped, that was going to put pressure on him. And he still won the fight fairly wide on the scorecards. And he looked like he was a little winded around 5-6 rounds into the fight, but then he caught his second win. He got that relaxation and composure. And I think that he's in with a similar type fighter. It's going to be very difficult to beat him in Puerto Rico. He's undefeated. He's making his first world title defense. And I think Zayas is a very, very good fighter. He's not eye candy. He doesn't do anything. He's not a huge puncher. He's not a
Yeah.
He doesn't do anything great, but he does everything very, very well.
The thing about it was the Baral's coming off that Yanis Tellez fight. When Zayas fought Chino Rodriguez his last fight, Chino was coming off of a fight when he beat Charles Conwell, and Conwell was the favorite. Conwell was the U.S. amateur. Conwell, rest in peace, Patrick Day. We know about Conwell's power, and Conwell was the one with all the steam, and Chino beat him on the ropes. Used his craftiness, used his boxing, his angles, and really showcased the lack of levels of Conwell. I was shocked. So when Chino got that fight against Xander, I was like, Xander's going to be tested here. This is a real pro who's tricky, who knows how to turn his opponent, who could fight off the ropes. And Xander handled him. I was really impressed with how Xander handled Chino Rodriguez. And also at 22 years old, mate, I'm friends with his strength and conditioning coach. I think we're looking at Xander maybe potential 3-division world champion before it's all said and done. He's a massive 54. I could see him at 68 maybe. How about you?
I met him actually a couple of months ago for the first time.
Is he big in person?
Bigger than me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say he's a huge 154.
Okay. So he carries his weight well, like body composition then. Because when I watch his strength and conditioning, he's doing all that stuff down in South Florida. Dr. Corey Peacock, who's an Ohio boy, who's, you know, Corey? He's friends with Algieri. He's part of that the whole group of boys from the north that do the ISSN.
I'm so bad. I've met a lot of people through Chris at Chris' house over the years, and I meet people.
Yeah. People buy you drinks. I told the boys, if you retire as a boxer, no matter if you're undefeated, if you've never been stopped, you don't have to pay for any drinks at a bar.
Remember that when I come to Australia.
Oh, bro, Sydney, we're waiting, brother. So yeah, I told you I'm still getting cooked for the Shiraz pick. We got Mike Tyler. He has a question. Ask Tommy, what point of his career did he start fighting just for money? Mike's a pro, by the way. He's an 11-0 pro. I think Mike just turned 29 or 30.
Honestly, Mike, never. I mean, the passion was always there, and honestly, I made shit money my entire career until the very end. I started making a little bit of money, and it felt great. Finally out of debt and finally have a savings account, and then eventually finally buy a condo and actually own something. You know, that being
nice.
I really wasn't thinking about money until the very end. Where I'm saying, all right, you know what? I was offered a fight with Dennis Hogan in Australia, and I'm like,
I know, yeah.
I'm gonna come to Australia and fight this guy for $10,000. You're not gonna give me the decision no matter what. I mean, if it was $20,000, maybe $25,000, absolutely.
That's Tony Del Vecchio.
Yeah, at the end of my career, I was thinking, all right, you know what? If I'm gonna get beat, I need to get paid here. You know.
Yeah, Dennis Hogan was a legit pro. He fought everyone.
No, I fought on a show with him on Long Island. He fought on my undercard actually, and that was when I first met him. And he was a real nice guy.
Nice guy. Yeah, guys. So I have a jazz festival I'm going to, and it is Friday night for Tommy. I got to wrap it up soon. We didn't mention, and people have been asking about Ammo Williams, Carlos Adames. Ammo's a fan favorite for the North American fight fans. They know who I'm taking. Well, high interest, I'm taking Adames. I think Ammo's. What's your take on this fight?
I didn't break it down yet, Johnny, so I don't.
Okay. Yeah. We'll get closer. My official decision isn't out yet, but you know, Ammo. he's a fun guy. I cheer for him. I hope he does well. Carlos Adames is a legit world champion, and so that's my take right off jump.
Real quick, I didn't discuss with you, and you are Mr. Australia, Nikita Zoo. I mean,
Bro. In the break that after how it ended,
I had him at plus 200 for the stoppage. I
yeah,
didn't get the stoppage.
it was coming. It was coming. And the reason why I was so salty with how, everybody was salty with how that ended is because I felt right in front of us, we got robbed of witnessing a guy in Nikita that was positioning himself right on the world level, man. You got to think about this dude. People underrate him because he's Tim's little brother. He's marketable. He doesn't care about the fame. He keeps leveling up with his skill set. He's fun, fan friendly in the ring. He's a bit of a weirdo, which is good.
Makes his own knives, for Christ's
He
sake.
made, bro. I was like, this is a dude that perfect for boxing. Perfect for boxing. Calls himself the Butcher because in a fight he catches the dude and the dude's nose shatters and he tasted the blood and they asked him about it in the post conference. He's like, oh yeah, I felt like I should just do it. I was like, another man's blood. The dude, doesn't really use social media, but when he's in the ring, like I I felt we were robbed of a moment.
You know, he married a girl named Nikita. How odd is that?
I did not know his wife is named Nikita.
Yeah, I did. He married. He basically he took some home off of boxing. He had a regular job for a little while. Like he's doing like architecture or something crazy. I don't know what it was. He's like, and then he met a girl and he got married. Her name's Nikita too. They walk in the room. It's Nikita or Nikita. He's like,
yeah.
He's nuts.
Like I've been around him multiple times when I was, I used to manage a fighter out of. If you ever come down to Sydney, Bondi Boxing Club does all the media day, and for a couple of his fights, I'm in the gym filming and stuff like that. And this was a few years ago, but he's one of those guys that everybody likes to be around. He's younger, he's playing tricks on people, tackling you on the shoulder, trying to tackle you. Good dude. I feel like people have always kind of undersold his boxing. By no means a finished product, but boxing is filled with guys like this.
He's also much different than his brother. Tim is
much different
fighter. Tim works behind the jab. When he does use the jab, I think Tim's got a fantastic jab. I'd like to see him use it a lot more. Nikita's coming to get you. That's it. He's coming to get you at all times. So yeah, I would love to have seen a sparring session with them because they're so different yet so effective in their own way.
They said the grandpa won't let them spar anymore after 2 years ago.
Yeah, but I like Nikita. I mean, what's not to like?
Yeah, same, man. Tommy, man, I appreciate your time, brother. I hope you have a great weekend. And like always, all weekend, I'll be in touch on the WhatsApp.
We'll do it next month. We'll get Paulie on for the Garcia fight that week.
Let's do it. Yep. It'll be fun. Thank you, brother.
Good night.
See ya. All right, guys. So hopefully you enjoyed that. That's an hour in. I got to wrap up. They got Merriweather up beating Correa. It's round 5 of 6. Merriweather's up 40-35. This is fight 2 of the main of the Zuffa card. If you're in Australia, watch it on Paramount Plus. If you're in our Discord, I think the boys in the Discord are streaming it right now. I'm looking at the Discord. And if you want to sign up to the Discord, the link is pinned in the comments section. It's a couple bucks a month. I appreciate all you boys. I appreciate the support. And wherever you are in the world, hopefully you're taking care of yourself. Let's do this.